You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
A couple of days.
To 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for The Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Monday, October 21, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Chase Brumfeld alongside, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. And listen, man, phone lines are already lit up. I know we're going to get to you. I promise. That's a big part of the show, and we're going to get to the callers. But we got a little housekeeping to do. It is Monday, October 21st, 2024, and it's beautiful. And the forecast is just more of the same. We've had a stretch. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but we're going to need a little bit of rain somewhere along the line. I'm worried about, forest fires and all those things that come with it gets so dry. Plus, we just need some rain. But it's beautiful. There's no doubt about that. It was beautiful on the banks of the Tennessee River this past Saturday afternoon in Knoxville. Beautiful afternoon, great, incredible atmosphere. The only thing that went wrong was the final score. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. A game Alabama could have won, just like they could have won the Vanderbilt game. But you know what? They could have lost the Georgia game. They could have lost the South Carolina game. So 5-2 overall, 2-2 in the SEC is probably about right for this team. And just a lot of issues on Saturday. The penalties continue to just be absolutely, I don't know any other way to say it, to just that's got to stop. You can't just keep going out there and getting 100-plus yards in penalties. I mean, you're helping the other team. The other team is good. They're going to make plays. But when you're doing things to shoot yourself in the foot, and then, in the second half, I thought Jalen Milroe played one of his poorest halves of football that he's played since he's been here. That's just my opinion. But he didn't play well, and he didn't make throws that he needed to make, and he looked rattled. And I don't know if he's banged up. I don't know, what happened. Their defense is good. Give them credit. But Alabama was up 7-0 at the half, and the defense played its probably best half of football. And I thought played fine in the second half, too. I know they gave up 24 points, but they were stressed a little bit by the offense's inability. It's just hard to get this team to play complementary football. To get this team to play offense, defense, and special teams well together in the same game has been a challenge. So we're going to break that down in depth. Obviously, we'll talk about more SEC football. We'll hear from Coach Kalen DeBoer, his post-game press conference in Knoxville, which was short, but we'll have it for you clipped up. Chase has got it ready to go. Before we do anything else, though, I need to let you know that this hour of the Gary Harris Show is being brought to you by my friends at Alabama Credit Union. Discover the heart and soul of our member-owned credit union, empowering our members, enriching our community. Alabama Credit Union is more than just a financial institution. I can vouch for that. It's a member-owned community deeply rooted in rich historical values. Our central focus is empowering members, driving us to positively impact the community through financial success. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Or check them out at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. Ample extra change in your pocket. All right, it was a tough one for the Tide, and the reaction has been swift. Alabama fans aren't used to this. This is the first time since Nick Saban's initial season in 2007 that Alabama's had two losses going into before the month of October is over, and that is stinging. That is it's not sitting well with everybody. It is a transition year. There are some things that probably should have been expected. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that this team would be 5-2 and 2-2 in the SEC. I thought they would be probably 6-1, maybe even 7-0. But doesn't matter what I think. And it doesn't matter what I say, and it doesn't matter really what anybody thinks or says. This team, is in charge of its own outcome. And right now, they're a good team. They're not a great team. They're a good team. They got a chance to win every game they play from here on out. They've also got a chance, I think, outside of maybe Mercer. They could lose every game. They could lose. If they don't play well, they could lose this Saturday to South Carolina. They could lose at LSU. They could lose at Oklahoma. They could lose at home to Auburn. If they play well, they could win all those games. So that's kind of where this team's at. This isn't an Alabama team that's just going to show up and beat people. This isn't an Alabama team. It's kind of, I'm old enough, obviously, to remember when Coach Bryant stepped down and was followed by Ray Perkins. I remember, obviously, covering the team in the early 2000s, Mike Shula years. People don't care that Alabama isn't maybe what it's been. Everybody still wants a crack at Alabama. That's why the goalpost still came down on Saturday after that game, even though Tennessee just beat them 2 years ago and broke a 15-game losing streak. People still want to crack at Alabama, and they don't care that Nick Saban's not the coach. And they don't care maybe that Alabama's not the power that it's been the last few years. They don't care about that. They want to beat Alabama. So the motivation to beat Alabama is as strong as it ever was. But I don't know that Alabama's team is as strong as it's been. Last year's team, for all of its flaws, still wound up winning the Southeastern Conference Championship, going to the College Football Playoff, and going to overtime before losing the national championship Michigan in the semifinal at the Rose Bowl. So that team still was a really, really, really good team. And this year's team, honestly, still can get in the playoff, but the margin for error is gone. It's gone. There's no more. This is not a team that's going to go 9-3 and get in the playoff. That's not going to happen. It's just not. It's just not going to happen. So for them to have a chance to make the playoff, they're going to have to go 10-2. They're going to have to win the rest of them. And then I think there's a very good chance to get in. But I don't know that this team can do that. I said they can win every game, but, if they don't play better, they're going to be a dogfight on Saturday against Missouri. That's just the reality of it. That's where this team is at. Every week is going to be, in this conference, I think it's going to be a struggle for this team to win or lose. It's going to be fourth quarter games. That's every game they've played in the Southeastern Conference has been a fourth quarter game. Even, obviously, the Georgia game when they were up 30-7 at halftime. Lost the Vanderbilt game. South Carolina came down to literally the final play, and they lose at Tennessee. I don't see really any reason to believe it's going to be any different against Missouri. I think Alabama's can win the game. In fact, I think Alabama will win the game. But I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I don't think they're going to roll out there. I just don't see this team right now blowing anybody out. They blew out Western Kentucky. They had an impressive performance at Wisconsin. But even the South Florida game was a fourth quarter game. So this team is a good team, but it's like most teams in this league. It's going to have to play well every Saturday to win. So listen, the phone lines are locked in. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead. It's 12 minutes after 9. Get to our first break, and then we can come back and we can take these calls. We've got Bryce, we've got Jim, we've got Corey. We'll get to all you guys in the next segment. We got Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com coming up at 9:30. We got Casey Smith on golf at 10:30. Your phone calls, which we're going to get to on the other side, on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. It is one of those rare Mondays, but unfortunately it's not as rare this season. 2 losses already, and it's not even November, and I know people want to talk about it. We'll get to your phone calls next, right here on The Gary Harris Show.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. One of the nation's premier arts festivals, Kentuck, wrapped up its first festival at Snow Hinton Park Sunday in Tuscaloosa. The 53-year-old festival featured 270-plus artists, live music, activities for children, folk and contemporary craft demonstrations, food trucks, and local craft brews. Kentuck had previously
Tuesday night, live from Walk On Sports Bistro for Hillcrest Huddle. That's Brett Jones each week as the Hillcrest Patriots march towards the playoffs.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free. Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201 Old Colony is operated by parents.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's management dream team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues this week. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight with the low at 49. And for tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days. Afternoon highs between 80 and 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 44 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:16. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and this is going to be all phone calls in this segment before we get to Rodney Orr at 9:30. So everybody hold. We'll get to you. We're going to lead off with Jim this morning. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, how you doing now?
Doing well.
Hey, I'm not going to really complain, but the only thing I was disappointed, one thing I was disappointed in is with 8.5 minutes to go in the third quarter, Bama had it 4th and 1 on their own 48, leading 7-0. They punted. I mean, I don't know if, I don't know how you think they're going to hold them scoreless the rest of the game. But anyway, I just thought that was a chance to, go for it, and try to get, a double digit, 2-score lead,
Well, I'm going to agree with you, Jim, because I don't, I didn't necessarily think it was a bad decision to kick. Your defense was playing well. At the same time, as you said, you had momentum there. You had good field position. You wound up punting them down inside the 10. You did, but then they went 95 yards or whatever, and that turned the game around. So I guess I'm going to agree with you, and I tell you why. If you're going to go for it on 4th and 20 or whatever it was from inside your own 20, and even though it was late in the game, you still had 3 timeouts. But you're not going to go for it on 4th and 2 or whatever it was at the 48. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's some flawed logic there. And I know the defense at that point in the game was tired, but at the end of the game, I'm kicking it there. I mean, I just think you've got to kick it. Now, give the defense credit. They held them to a field goal, and you did get the ball back. But, yeah, if you're going to be one to go for it from inside your own 20 facing a 4th and 18, then you got to go for it on 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, at midfield. I'm with you. But, it's easy after the fact to look back at all those things. But I'm with you. I can't really figure out, it's like in the Vanderbilt game, they did punt it, or they kicked off after the touchdown instead of trying an onside kick and to at least give themselves a chance to get on the ball. I mean, it's weird how this staff goes about whether they're going to go for it on 4th or punt it, and I think we saw examples of that again in the Tennessee game.
Yeah, one more thing, and this is the Georgia-Texas game. Is, I guess the pass interference, which was a bad call, but, 5 minutes later they reversed it. I just think I've never seen that before,
No, nobody has. And the way that they try.
And here's the thing about it. That the SEC offense, it's like a politician just won't admit when they're wrong or anything like that. They said they got it right. They had a discussion. Well, no, that was the second discussion. They had a discussion after the first call, and then the referee called it, and they marked it off. It was after the balls were thrown and people booing, and there's no doubt they looked at the replay screen in the stadium and changed their mind, which ain't allowable,
Yeah.
But anyway, that was just – all right, that's all I got to say, man.
Thank you, Jim. Good to hear from you. All right, let's get to let's go ahead and get to Corey. He's next up. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Gary. How are you this morning?
Doing well.
Well, to me, I don't see any reason how Alabama is going to be able to win any of the games except for the Mercer game because they just haven't shown a way to play complete football. I mean, they haven't put two halves together.
Now, hang on, Corey. Let me cut you off. Come on now. I understand it doesn't look great, but to say you think they're only going to win the Mercer game, come on, man. They're going to have a good chance to beat Missouri here. They're going to have a good chance to beat Auburn here. They'll have a chance to win at Oklahoma. Right now, the LSU game does look very, very, very iffy, but it's not like they're playing so bad that they're going to lose the rest of their games other than Mercer.
Well, they're hurting themselves.
Well, they are, but still, I mean, they are 5-2 and 2-2 in the league, and they beat Georgia and they beat South Carolina. I mean, I'm with you from the standpoint that they're going to have to play well to win these games, but to say that you only think they're going to win the Mercer game, I think that's being that's a little bit of a negative Nelly right there, to be honest with you, Corey.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Did it seem to you that this team is just regressed so badly that they've lost confidence within themselves?
Well, I don't think they've lost confidence. I think maybe there's a chance that Jalen lost a little confidence on Saturday for whatever reason, but I still think that they feel like they're a good team. I'm not cashing in on my chips at this point. I still think this team can be pretty good. I think they are pretty good. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I don't know that they're going to be a great team. They've shown some flashes. Unfortunately, the last few weeks, it's been a struggle bus. But they could have won yesterday. Could have won Saturday. They could have won it at Vanderbilt. They could have lost to South Carolina. There's just not a lot of margin for error. But I still think this team Saturday at home is going to beat Missouri. And when you win a game, it kind of resets everything. And then they can go into the bye, which is going to be, if they can beat Missouri and go into the bye, that bye is going to be badly needed before they go to Baton Rouge. And you're going to be an underdog at LSU. Let's just go ahead and tell it like it is. Alabama's not used to being an underdog, but they're going to be an underdog when they go to LSU. And maybe that'll be a chance for them to turn the season around and surprise some people.
Yeah, I agree, because I think, like you said, the bye week is going to be much needed. If you get this win against Missouri, hit the reset button on the bye week, and maybe you surprise people at LSU, because everybody's probably going to be picking Alabama to lose at LSU, and especially with it being at LSU at night probably. And so get a chance to hit the reset button and go from there. But I think I do agree with the last caller saying that we should have gone for it on fourth down, because even if you get a field goal out of that drive, you're up 2 scores, and maybe that changes the mood of the sideline. Because to me, what's hurt Alabama a lot is teams have gone on long scoring drives against Alabama. It's not like they've gotten a short field. It's been 90-plus yard drives, and that's just very deflating. I mean, on the defense, just to allow a 10-plus play drive. And
I agree.
And it's very frustrating seeing that you pin somebody back deep and then you can't get off the field because of penalties or just not being able to stop somebody on third down.
No, I'm with you. Just about everything that you said. And with you and Jim, I look. Of course, hindsight's 20/20, but I thought at the time too that maybe they ought to go for it there. And like I said, you weren't willing to go for it there, but you were willing to go for it on 4th and a mile from inside your own 20-yard line. So with 3 timeouts, so it just doesn't add up. I don't know what the analytics say. I really don't care. Sometimes in the game, and I guess you could say that coach went with his gut, because I'm sure the analytics with 4th and whatever it was with 3 timeouts probably said to punt it, and he didn't. And but they did hold him to a field goal and get the ball back and had a chance, and then Jalen threw an interception. So yeah, it was disappointing, that's for sure. Hey, Corey, great thoughts, man. I got to hit some other callers, but we appreciate you as always, my friend. All right, let's get to Bryce. Good morning, Bryce.
Good morning, Gary. Am I wrong to say that when Milroe is not having a good day, it worked in South Florida game. He got benched. It might give him hard to rethink. It might give him time to rethink things, like do like Texas, like Stark did. And hey, at least we see if he's any better. Do you agree with that?
You know what? It could have been an opportunity in the second half to give Ty a chance to come in, but again, I don't know, because I don't know where Ty's at in his development. I don't know what he's done at practice. I don't know there's a reason, like I said, every time there's been a quarterback controversy around here, I've always said there's a reason they're playing the guy they're playing. And I have to believe that's because they believe that guy gives them the best chance to win the games. At the same time,
I understand.
Let me finish. At the same time, I would think the way things had started going on Saturday, it maybe wouldn't have been a bad idea to bring Ty in, let Jalen stand over on the sideline a time or two. At the same time, when things were looking really grim, is when they went on that long touchdown drive and he threw the pass down there to, I guess it was to Bernard. And they got down there and got a touchdown. So I don't know. It's we'll see what happens. I mean, I would think right now, to me, nothing should be off the table. In other words, whether it's the quarterback, whether it's the left tackle, whether it's a cornerback, whatever position, you need to be evaluating your personnel. And if there's somebody over there that's not playing that you think gives you a better chance to win, to me, now would be a good time to look to make that move because the season is not off the rails by any means, but one more loss, and it could be. So I think you, as a coach, your part of your responsibility is to always evaluate the situation, always evaluate your talent at every position, and try to put out the best football team that you can every Saturday. If that means making some changes, Bryce, then they need to look at making some changes at whatever position.
Well, just your defense is playing good enough. You get 2 turnovers, and you don't take advantage of it. We should have been up 3 scores at half. If the offense was playing like they usually do. And he just had a bad day. He missed Williams, and Williams is a playmaker, wide open, and he missed him over his head, selling the ball. Because hey, if we go up 3 scores, Tennessee, we got Tennessee where we want them. And
no
what's
doubt.
his name's and the quarterback's confidence on Tennessee is going to be down, and they're not going to come back if we up 3 scores. Is my personal opinion.
Well, they should have had a bigger lead at halftime. There's no doubt about that. Should have had a bigger lead. That's probably where the game was.
One last thing
was lost. Yeah.
Y'all were talking about the Leonard Skinner deal the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to call y'all, and I wanted to tell Larry this. Maybe I had a friend of mine was in Greenville, South Carolina, and 2 girls on his sales crew was on the plane, and he got on the plane and asked them to get off because they were going to go to New Orleans with them. So, and I just want, they were real lucky on that deal.
Well,
they
you're
got
not
off
kidding.
The plane.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, but hey, I appreciate you letting me talk, but that's just, it worked. I think if Coach would have been coaching, I know he's not coach, and you probably me mad at when I bring this up. I think he would have probably took him out Saturday.
Well, he may very well. That's why he's That's why he's one of the best to ever do it. I will.
Well, I appreciate you letting me talk, but that's just a room for thought. Texas did it, and Arch, it wouldn't answer, and he settled down a little bit and played better. But I knew Georgia was going to thump them, And right now, Georgia's playing the best ball.
Yes,
and our
they
defense played good. They played good Saturday.
No doubt about it. They're the best team. They're the best team in the SEC right now. Thank you, Bryce. Always good to hear from you. All right, we're going to get to Pat before we have to hit the break and come back with Rod Newell. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, good morning, guys. Man, I'm upset just like everybody else is. But I'm of the opinion that Ty has got to get some work with the ones in the event Jalen does go down. Some people saying Jalen's hurt. Well, that's an excuse. But whether he is or whether he's not, Ty still got to get some work with the ones. I don't care if it ain't but a couple of series.
Well, you know
here
what,
and there.
Pat? You can say that he's got to, but he don't have to if they don't put him in the game. I mean, that's your opinion. But, it doesn't really matter what we think. I mean, you say that like it's going to happen because you say it should happen. It's up to those coaches to decide what's going to happen.
You're taking me out of context.
All right.
I'm just saying that if he does not get some work with the ones, in the event that Jalen does go down, we're going to be in a world of crap. You got to get your quarterbacks ready to go. And again, that's what I said. That is my opinion.
Well, it is, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, but let me ask you this, because Milroe struggled a little bit. Everybody wants to change the quarterback. How many teams are doing that around the country? How many teams are putting in a backup quarterback in the games and playing him to get him some work? It doesn't happen that often. It's not happening that often.
No, Stark is.
Well, he's one of the few, and he did it after the guy got hurt. You know, and it didn't help him much. You know, Arch Manning didn't look good when he came in there against Georgia, did he?
Nope.
So I'm not disagreeing with you, Pat, but what I'm saying is the coaching staff, I do believe this. I do always believe this about coaches. They're trying to do all they can to win the game. I don't believe there's any coach that ever says we're not going to do what we can to win the game. And everything that we see, they see. That's their job. They're coaches. So I just have to. At some point, you just have to trust that they're making the right moves. And if they're not, you know what'll happen, Pat? You know, you've been here long enough, and they lose a few games, then they won't be coaching here anymore. You know, they'll get somebody else to do it.
The only thing, before we go real quick, you got to agree. First and goal at the 5-yard line. You got Justice Haynes.
I do agree. I do agree 100% with you. I don't know why you're throwing the ball down there, particularly a ball that has to cover 15 yards in the air. I'm with you 100%. No, you and I are in agreement. To me, with an offensive line like that, if you're first and go inside the 5, I'm with you, Pat. You run it 4 times, and if they stop you, you tip your hat, and they come out and you put your defense on there with them on the 1-yard line. I'm 100% with you. I'm tired of throwing the ball down there, and even though they threw it again and got a touchdown to Ryan Williams, I'm with you. Inside the 5-yard line, put some big bodies out there. Put a big body in the backfield and lead one of those backs and hit it in there 4 times. And if they stop you, they just stop you. I'm with you, pal. I agree.
All
Thank you, Pat.
Have a blessed one, Gary Harris.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one.
You too. Always a pleasure. All right, 9:31. We'll get to a timeout. We'll come back with Rodney Orr, Mr. Tider Insider, next right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept, Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m., available for after-hours.
Discover better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Follow Tide 100.9 on Facebook today to watch our live shows, read the great articles, and interact with Bama fans today.
All right, it's 9:34. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC. It's time for Rodney Orr from Tider Insider. And good morning, Rodney. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Gary?
Doing well. Folks have already been sounding off this morning, as you might imagine. And listen, I get it. I mean, the reality is that Alabama hasn't been in this situation since Nick Saban's first year, 2007. That's the last time they lost 2 games before the month of November. You lose to Tennessee, a rival, on the road in a game that, you could have won, but you didn't. And, penalties, quarterback had a rough day. It was just a game that has left a lot of Alabama fans very, very frustrated. And you watched it. I'm sure it was frustrating for you, too. Now that you've had a couple days to process it, what are your takeaways from Tennessee 24, Alabama 17?
No, I think it's pretty much the same as what we've seen since the second half of the Georgia game, probably. I mean, it's just miscues, missed opportunities, self-inflicted wounds. Not playing clean football, some undisciplined things that happen. All of those things continue to kind of surface in these games. And Alabama had opportunities to win this game. They had, opportunities to convert. And there were some things that went against them, of course. I mean, there were some, opportunities they had. I would point to a throw that Milroe made to the end zone that was, where Ryan Williams was clearly held that wasn't called. That certainly would have been a great opportunity for Alabama there to score. And so some things did go against them. And then again, I'm going to be honest too. I mean, I agree that the defense gave the offense some opportunities. They did. That was very encouraging. Gave them some opportunities to extend the lead when it was 17-14 in the fourth quarter, I think it was. And, the offense just, the next 3 drives were really poor. So, I saw that. But at the same time, defensively, you got gashed in the second half running the football. Tennessee, I think, had over 100 or around 150 yards rushing in the second half. So they took over the line of scrimmage in that way. And I also think that Tennessee had 2 or 3 opportunities again to hit big pass plays. Guys were open, got behind the secondary. Those things continue to surface as well. So while I think Alabama certainly hurt themselves, Tennessee had some opportunities as well.
They did, and I thought in the end, Rodney, and I want to see if you agree. I really am. Alabama could have won that game, but I thought in the end, and that's usually the way football goes. But I thought Tennessee deserved to win the game. I thought the team that deserved to win the game won the game, and that's
they took over the game in the second half when they had to. I mean, they controlled it. They took control of the game, and I give Nico credit. He didn't have maybe the greatest game, but he fought through adversity. He fought through an injury, and he played really, really well. And he made some plays when he had to.
Rod, all you can do is turn the page, and I'm going to do that with you, and we're going to look ahead to Missouri. But before we do, there are a lot of things that are surrounding this team right now that the fans are upset about. And you're kind of a voice of the fan to some degree with Tider Insider. That is the best sounding board in the world for what Alabama fans are feeling on that closed forum of yours. Whether it's, a staff member walking into the game with a cigar before the game, or whether it's, a quarterback pushing merchandise after a loss, or whether it's Link or the NIL situation that everybody's dealing with. I think the fans feel like there's a lot of agendas and a lot of things happening with this team that aren't conducive to being a winning team and to the tradition and the standard of Alabama football. How do you respond to that as a guy who has a pulse of what the fans are talking about? You're seeing it and hearing it all.
Yeah, I think you said it right there, the tradition and standard of Alabama football. It's a little higher, certainly, than, and I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm talking about how you carry yourself. I'm talking about, the way you present yourself. I mean, it goes way back. It goes way, way back. I mean, even before Coach Bryant, but I remember how he certainly used to emphasize that quite a bit. You carry yourself in a certain way. There's certain expectations. And I understand times have changed. Things are done a little bit differently. But I do think that it's very important. And I do see some of the things that you're talking about. But I'll also say this. I want to be very clear about this. And again, things have changed. Times have changed. The NIL, the portal, the players have more control than they used to. And they certainly have people in their ears. They're doing things in terms of building their brands. I mean, I think that's something that's certainly a priority for most of these kids now. And I think it leads to some of this. But it's not, I want to be clear. People need to be open to this, that it's not just started with Kalen DeBoer. This is something, a lot of things he inherited. It was already happening under Nick Saban. I think if Saban was probably honest, he would say there was a frustration level that he had with a lot of this. And it was here. It was happening. And so I don't think that some of this undisciplined play is necessarily something. There have been some things in the recent past, that we have seen that players maybe weren't quite to that standard. So this isn't something that was just started with Kalen DeBoer. It's been brewing over a period of time. And we can even look at the penalties. People are talking about, well, this is a team that is so penalized. Yeah, they are. But let's not forget about 2022 at Texas. I mean, how undisciplined was that? Alabama was fortunate to win the game by a point.
Right.
But they had 15 penalties in the game. I think it was 14 or 15. You go to Tennessee that year, you had, 17 penalties?
A lot.
Whatever it was. You can look back to last year at Texas A&M on the road in College Station, 14 penalties. So these are trends that have been kind of going for a while, building. I think it's Kalen DeBoer now that's got, in the first year, it's tough to turn all these things around. And I think that this is one of his chores. I mean, it's just going to take a little time.
Yeah, it's his task. And It is, it is what it is. The key to the drill, I think, Rodney, is that the season is not lost. And, I've already had a caller call in today and say they don't think they'll win another game other than Mercer, which is I think, being a little extreme. But the reality is, from what we've seen of this team in 4 SEC games, they're 2-2. They could have won every one of them. They could have lost every one of them. I mean, it's the margin for error with this team is small. You got a home game coming up against Missouri. That's really all you can focus on right now. I don't think getting ahead there's no reason for anybody to get ahead and look ahead with this team. All you need to worry about is winning the next game, then you get to the bye. So that's the task. And the task is to come back here at home and put an end to this. Get a win. Go into that bye and start preparing for LSU, where you'll be an underdog with some momentum. So to me, coaches always say this, but it's more true than ever with this team. This is the biggest game of the season this coming Saturday, 2:30 in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I called it in my Sunday Thoughts last night. This is a gut check, because a lot of things are going against Alabama right now in terms of, the way they play. I know the frustration you can see building a little bit among the players. You can look at the body language. You can see how, Kendrick Law, and again, I'm not pointing him out because I think he's a really good kid and he's been a really good leader for the team in a lot of ways, but he lost his composure. I think there was some frustration there. I think that when you see, some of the responses, the body language after passes, that you have guys open, receivers a little frustrated, the ball's inaccurately thrown, all of these types of things. There's just some frustration. We saw it with Malachi Moore a couple of games ago against Vanderbilt. So I think this is a real gut check right here. And a lot of times we've seen Alabama in the past when the chips are down, people starting to count them out. And I know this is a different team, but there is a tradition to it. You see Alabama respond in a big way. This is what you want to see against Missouri because, again, this is a good football team, Missouri. I don't think they're great, but you saw what happened. When they got their quarterback in this last game, they come back from a deficit against Auburn. Seemed like Auburn had the game in control, and they win the game. They pull it out at home. So they're coming in with some momentum. Alabama's kind of got that disappointing feeling right now. Can Alabama rebound? That's the big question. Again, I think it's a real gut check as you start to move forward. Alabama needs to win this game to keep their hopes alive.
All right, Rod. Obviously I've already been on the air long enough to have a call about the quarterback situation. And you and I have followed Alabama quarterbacks going back to the early, well, you probably even a little longer than me. You're a little bit older than me. But I guess Terry Davis was the first one, maybe Scott Hunter in that range. Scott Hunter, Terry Davis, the first quarterbacks that I really was familiar with Alabama, and I followed them all. And I've seen, you and I, since we've been living here covering Alabama, we've seen whether it's Andrew Zow and Tyler Watts or we've seen quarterback competitions or quarterback controversies, or they ought to be playing this guy, they ought to be playing that guy. Blake Barnett, Jalen Hurts, Tua. Right now, with Milroe, we're hearing a lot of fans. Now, I continue to go through my lens is that coaches, not every coach is successful, but every coach tries to be. And every coach and staff try to put the best players out there for their team to try to win the game. Nobody's ever going to convince me, Rodney, that a head coach is going to play a guy that he doesn't think gives him a chance to win the game. I don't subscribe to that. So when I hear somebody tell me they're playing a guy that they know is not as good as another guy, I'm not buying it, okay? But I do think that as a coach, you have to evaluate. That's your task every week. And particularly when your season is not going as well as you'd hoped, and regardless of the position, quarterback, right tackle, left tackle, cornerback, linebacker, whatever it is, if there's a guy that's on the sideline that deserves to play and is playing, you think, better than the guy that's playing, I think you're tasked to put that guy out there. That's the way I view it. So I know I've kind of strung you along here, but my point is I do think you have to look, particularly after a loss, when the season kind of is hanging, on the cusp, to try to make sure you're putting the best football players out there to give you a chance to win every Saturday.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of opportunity for a guy to get in. And, you never know how a guy is going to respond. There are times when the best players aren't playing, but it's not always because that they're the best players. We go back to 89. Jeff Dunn. And then Gary Hollingsworth comes in the game, as you remember.
Would have never seen him.
He won the SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So things happen. Players, and it's also, sometimes it's difficult to make a change. Mm-hmm. And I understand. You go back to 2017. Clearly, Tua was phenomenal when he played. But again, you're winning games, you're consistent in all of these things. So sometimes it's timing. Right now, I mean, I know a lot of people are calling for Ty Simpson to come in and play and get an opportunity, and I understand that, but I don't think we're quite to that point yet. And that's what I said in my article last night and in my thoughts on Sunday. But you know, I don't see that happening right now. I certainly think you stick with Milroe. Now, if he continues to struggle, if he continues to turn the ball over, then you have to give serious consideration to saying, hey, we're either going to sit you for a little while. We got to give this guy an opportunity. You know, maybe you regather yourself, whatever it is. I think then you look at that and say, okay, now might be the time to give Ty a chance. But I want to say this too. With that said, as I pointed out in my article, you know, here's the thing. I think Ty's got a ton of potential. Everyone buzzes about him, but we haven't seen him really, except for the USF game last year when the game was on the line. We haven't seen him really in a big-time SEC meaningful situation. So we don't know how he would respond either. Again, it's a lack of experience there that you have to consider. And you have to say, you know, is it worth, you know, putting this guy in right now versus, you know, leaving the guy in who's been there before, who's done it before? I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into this situation. So right now, bottom line is, you know, you stick with Milroe, you believe in him, and see how he responds. Would not surprise me if he responds in a big way. I mean, that's just kind of the competitor that he is. But if he does continue to struggle, then I think you have to give some consideration.
All right, Ronnie, we alluded to this a little bit earlier, but again, I know it's a talking point on shows like mine. It's on your board about all the stuff that is going on. And you're right. This is not Kalen DeBoer's fault. It's not any coach's fault. The game has changed a lot in just the last few years. As you said, Nick Saban was dealing with it. But it is the current landscape. Every coach has to deal with it. Do you think there is an issue with this team in regards to players having the right priorities to play winning football? I mean, again, you're on the outside looking in, but I'm going to ask you the question anyway. Do you think these players have the right priorities at Alabama to win? Or are there things more important, whether it's the amount of their NIL or their marketing opportunities or their social media and what they're doing there? Do you feel like this team is bought in to the standard that is Alabama football, and the goal being that if you win a championship, then everybody gets the individual glory that they want? Or do you think this team is not on that page where there are too many individual agendas?
Well, I think, you know, one thing Nick Saban used to talk about so much was controlling external factors, not allowing them to control you and influence you. And I think there's just more and more of those, the distractions that coaches have to manage. I think that's what makes it more and more difficult. If Nick Saban was here, he'd be in the same situation, having to deal with these external factors, the distractions of all the things you just mentioned. And I think, you know, with a new coach coming in, Kalen DeBoer, you know, he's having to try to manage that. So I think all these guys want to win. I just think that where we have come, the way things have changed, there's distractions there that can certainly, you know, get you off your focus. Now, whether or not, whatever it is with this team, I'm not 100% sure. So I don't want to say that there's somebody or a group of players that are more focused on other things. But I think there's certainly, it's there. It's there not just for Alabama. It's there for all these coaches, for all over the country. I mean, it's really a difficult time, I think, you know, for these coaches to manage these distractions, these extra things that have happened, these new things, whatever you want to call it, the changes. So I'm not going to really say that about this Alabama team because I don't know.
Right.
But I think it is. I think it is very difficult for you know, we'll just use Kalen DeBoer. I think he's got a difficult situation to manage.
Yeah, but every coach is dealing with it. But I do think it's a big key to success in the modern day game of football is how you manage all that's going on, not just in terms of getting your football team ready to play. All right, we're getting short on time. I want to ask you about a couple of game management issues. There does seem to be sometimes on the sideline some chaos. You know, sometimes you know you're getting delay of games, and then even out of dead ball situations. You know, sometimes you're getting dead delay games or snap is hurried, legal procedures, guys not lining up correctly. And then in the game, we've seen, I don't know if it's analytics or gut feeling, but we've seen some, I don't know, you don't try an onside kick at Vanderbilt, okay? And you wind up not getting the ball back. In this game, you've got, as Jim called in earlier and pointed out correctly, you're at the 48-yard line with the lead, with the momentum, and you decide not to go for it on a 4th and 1 or 2 or whatever it was. And you do punt them down inside the 10, but that was the drive that turned the game. They hit the pass, they went down and scored. And yet at the end of the game, when you've got 3 timeouts and you got a 4th and a mile from inside your own 20 after the personal foul on Kendrick Law, and you do go for it. It does seem to me, Rod, that there doesn't seem to be really any rhyme or reason for how they go about making decisions in some of these games. And I thought they were a little bit all over the place on Saturday. You're not going to go for it at 4th and 2 at the 48, but you are going to go for it on 4th and a mile inside your 20?
Yeah. First of all, let's go back to the management of it, the noise and all of those things. You saw Alabama came out a little chaotic on that first possession. And again, I don't know what all the issues are. I think some of it falls on Milroe when he's on the field offensively. You got to manage the offense. You've got to know the shot clock. You've got to get your guys in position. You got to change the play. You got to do whatever you have to do. All these things, and it's tough to manage all that stuff, especially with the noise. I mean, there's so much going on. So I think some of that is him. Now, as far as the other things that you mentioned, on that 4th and 22, I mean, there was under 2 minutes left in the game. I don't even remember exactly. I mean, that's a if it's 4th and 7, I don't think I think you have to go for it, right? If it's 4th and 7, 4th and 22, I mean, you're talking about, man, that's a low, very low percentage. I know they hit 4th and 31 last year. Okay, I get it. You might say, okay, my defense has at least shown they can get a stop. We got, I don't know how many timeouts, 3.
Had all 3, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we punt them down, and we try to stop them. Call 3 straight timeouts, see what we can do, get the ball back. Maybe that's probably because that might have been the call to make.
Yeah, and again, after the fact, we all know the answers, but real quickly, the thought, whether it was Milroe checking to it and again, some people will say if there had been a block made on the perimeter, maybe he'd get it, but on 4th and 22, you run a middle screen to a running back?
Yeah, I don't know. That's, like you said, somebody said that was a play that was checked to. Now, I don't know if that was accurate or not. I mean, I have no idea. It is what it is. I mean, again, I think that goes back to what we were just talking about. You have to weigh it all and say, okay, should we punt with 22 to go, or should we, try to go for it? So maybe that goes back to what you were talking about. They probably should have punted the ball. You know what, Ryan? What would really be good is to play well enough that you're not putting yourself in these situations. That would be that. What would really be recommended is if you got a 10-point lead with a couple minutes to go, but they didn't. You got to manage them the best that you can, and it didn't work out for Alabama. Keep this in mind too, Gary, as we're talking about that. There's not a lot of plays that are designed to pick up 22 yards. I mean, there are plays, but I mean it's very low percentage. So absolutely. Whether you throw it short or you throw it down the field, I mean, it's not the highest percentage of, when you're talking about in terms of distance to go. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And I know what I'm going to do is a guy who's never coached, if it's 4th and 22 and I'm going to go for it from my own 18-yard line, whatever it is, the ball's going to go at least 22 yards in the air. I promise you that. You know why? Because then if I get a flag, pass interference. You're right. And it's going to be on down the field. I think you give yourself a chance to make a play there. But, all right, real quick, Rod, because we're up against it, I do at least want to mention basketball on Friday night in that charity exhibition at Boutwell. Alabama rose over a good Wake Forest team, 98-77, with 4 guys out. Aiden Holloway, 20 points. Sears and Philon, 19-13. Maury in the post was dead. I mean, this team listen, it's one game. It's an exhibition. But a lot of people have every right to be excited about this basketball team, Rodney. They got a chance to be special. Yeah, great start. Holloway obviously had his shooting woes at Auburn last year. He didn't have them the other night. he was knocking them down. I mean, so many impressive young players. Like you said, Phylon hit several threes himself. I mean, it was really exciting. I mean, when you see the talent out there, you mentioned the guys that weren't even on the court, that weren't available. I mean, yeah, it's extremely exciting, I think, for what you see. Now, again, it's just a start. There's going to be diversity and all that stuff, but it was a great start. And, Gary, before we leave, I want to say this. Welcome to the SEC, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
You got out physical. You got popped in the mouth is what happened, right? Mm-hmm. They said it was going to be Texas takeover. Well, you saw what happened. Welcome to the SEC.
Absolutely. And I meant to ask you about that when we just got out of time. Hey, folks, TiderInsider.com, still just $48 a year. It is the place to go if you're a Bama fan. And, of course, Rodney joins me Tuesday night at 6:30 for the Tider Insider TV on WVUA 23. Thanks a lot, Rod.
Okay, bud. Take care.
All right, we've gone a little bit over, but that's okay. We'll take a break here, and then we'll just come back and wrap it up. We'll go a little bit into the second hour. JR, you stay on hold, buddy. We'll get to you in the second hour. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 1 right after this.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m., The Martin Houston Show.
Going to Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. For a Tuesday edition of the program, we'll add DC Captain report to the conversation. We'll continue to break down Alabama's loss against Tennessee on the third Saturday in October. We'll also turn our attention to what Bama needs to right the ship as they take on Mizzou this Saturday. Can the Tide get it right? Can DeBoer get it right? Well, we'll talk about it and give you an opportunity to talk about it right here on your home for Alabama Sports 101.9 at 12:30 a.m.
House-made queso, sweet vinaigrette dressing, and spicy Cajun sauce. And check out our breakfast catering menu. Blues Q and Brew is open 7 days a week. We're located at 1825 McFarland Boulevard North in the Northridge Center.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy.
Feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10 o'clock. We're a little behind, but that's okay. We're going to wrap up hour number 1. Thanks to Alabama Credit Union for sponsoring the first hour. When we come back, it'll be hour number 2. We'll get to more phone calls. We got Casey Smith on golf coming up at 10:30. This is the Gary Harris Show.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
The World Series matchup is set.
McNeil goes for second. Alvarez swings. A bouncer to second. Taylor has it in the glove. It's over! It's over! The Dodgers win the pennant!
Dodgers Audio Network. LA finished off the Mets in Game 6 of the NLCS with a 10-5 victory. Tommy Edman, your NLCS MVP, with 11 total runs batted in. Dodgers meet the Yankees in the Fall Classic for the 12th time, but the first time since 1981. Game 1 is Friday night in Los Angeles. And the NFL reports say Raiders quarterback Aiden O'Connell is headed to IR and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a broken thumb. NFL media reports Chiefs corner Jalen Watson suffered a fractured ankle yesterday. And in the NBA, ESPN says Bucks forward Chris Middleton is expected to miss Wednesday's season opener as he continues to rehab from an ankle injury.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W2
beautifully renovated bath. Get up to 40% off select online bath plus free delivery at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see homedepot.com/delivery for details.
The long dry spell continues this week. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight with the low at 49. Then for tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days. Afternoon highs between 80 and 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
It's 53 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM hosts Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld with you here on Tide 100.9 FM. Lively first hour. We expect the same in hour number 2. And we appreciate Rodney Orr for a very riveting discussion on Alabama football. In that last hour, we got Casey Smith on golf coming up at 10:30. We're going to get to some phone calls here in just a moment. Again, the big story, Alabama losing to Tennessee 24-17 on Saturday. The Tide's now 5-2, 2-2 in the SEC. The first time to have 2 losses in the month of October, or 2 losses before November since 2007. The Tide hosts Missouri this coming Saturday afternoon at 2:30. It's a big game for Alabama. Missouri came back and beat Auburn, a team that in Auburn that's 0-4 now in the league. But give Brody Cook a lot of credit. He went down, went to the hospital, had an MRI, came back, and led Missouri to a victory in that game when they were down 17-3 in the second half, and came back and won it over Auburn 21-17. So it won't be easy for Alabama on Saturday. Also, later in the hour, we'll get to our weekly Bama in the NFL update. Boy, it's so much fun on Sunday watching NFL football because Bama players are everywhere and dominating. And, of course, Derrick Henry goes tonight. So we'll get to that as well. But we got phone calls lining up. Chase, I think we got another one ringing in, too. All right, we're going to get to JR because he's been holding since the first hour. And then we'll take phone calls throughout this segment. Good morning, JR.
Good morning, Gary. I'm going to say roll Tide anyway.
I hear you, my friend. That's the right attitude.
Well, I got a question for you. And first, before I can get to that, I want to say I'd be willing to bet you that this is the first time you were mentioning for the first time that Alabama's lost to 2 Tennessee teams in one season.
Yeah, 1984 was the last time it happened. They lost to Vanderbilt.
Really?
Yeah, they lost to Vanderbilt and Tennessee in 1984. So 40 years, Tom. JR, I'm sorry.
Well, that's a long time. I'll attribute that to loss of memory.
Okay.
Well, anyway, another quick question, and then I'm going to get back on football. Why was Alabama's basketball team playing in Boutwell Auditorium?
Because it was an excellent opportunity to play a game for charity against a good team in Wake Forest, and they spruced up Boutwell Auditorium. Obviously, I didn't get to go. I was doing high school football, but I watched some of it on YouTube, and I thought it was a great venue. It was intimate. Like I said, they have really spruced up Boutwell Auditorium, and I watched some of it. It looked great, JR. Man, it looked like a fun place.
I've been to Boutwell several times, but it's been a long time. Used to go out there and shoot some basketball myself.
yeah, but they spruced it up, and it was, it looked like it was a great, great atmosphere in there on Friday night, and I thought it was a perfect place to play that game.
Right. All right, jumping back on to football, I have a good question for you. And first, my belief is the way Alabama, a lot of these fans are pointing fingers at the coaches, their fault for the game loss and the season being kind of dismal this year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's the players and square it right on top of the NIL and the transfer portal. I really, truly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I think it's got a lot to do with it. I think the game has changed so fast. Here's the way I look at it right now. On the surface, everything is really good. TV ratings are great. Exciting college football games. People are going to the games. The interest is high. But under the surface, where it looks calm, there's a storm brewing. And, dealing with all of this. But let me keep this in mind. First of all, it's become an entertainment business. That's what it is. It's about entertainment and money. So as long as the money is there and the entertainment value is there, it really doesn't matter all the stuff that's happening. But underneath the surface, because the game has changed so fast, players have more control, coaches have less. The desire to increase the revenue is there. I don't know that the game is nearly as pure as it was just a few years ago. And I do think that the modern world of college football is the priorities are different for players than they were even 5 years ago. And not that there always haven't been individual agendas, but now I think sometimes if you don't watch it on your team, individual agendas can trump team objectives. Now, everybody wants to win. I get that. But is everybody committed to winning during the week so that they get the result on Saturday? And I think it's those teams and those coaching staffs that can get guys to buy into the team concept. Because like I've said before, it always shows up on Saturday. However, whatever you do during the week shows up on Saturday. And those teams that are able to focus and put the team first are going to be the most successful, in my opinion, JR. So, yeah, I do think NIL and the transfer portal and all that's going on, online classes, all of this in this environment contributes to making it more difficult to build a team.
Especially a first-year coach following someone like Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And, I mean, I think the players have just got an attitude that, if they don't get what they want, they can just jump ship and go somewhere else. And that's the next question. If they do something like that, do they lose the NIL they collected from the team?
I have no idea how any of that works. How these NIL agreements.
I'm sure they don't collect any further checks.
Well, you wouldn't think, but again, I don't know how it all works, man. It's
Well, I would be interested to find that out. I'll kind of Google into that.
I can find out more too, but I assume once you leave, you wouldn't be continuing to get paid. But maybe some of these guys get paid in advance. Like I said, JR, it's a new world, and we're all trying to adjust to it. But I will say this. On Saturday, it's still college football. The games are exciting. The ratings are high. I'm riveted, even if I didn't go to Knoxville, so I was able to watch games on TV Saturday, and I found myself watching football all day, and that's what I do for a living. So it's healthy in one aspect, but like I said, there's a storm brewing. Hey, thank you, JR. I'm going to get some other callers in, man.
I appreciate it very much, Gary. I'll talk.
Okay, let's get to Tom, and then we'll get to Philip. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Gary. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
I thought you made some great points with JR. And your point, as you pointed out, NIL, transfer portal, individual agenda, and all these things. You made that comment. And it's all, together. All of it together is creating what we're seeing go on. It's not just one thing. It's not, stuff in the dressing room that's affecting the thing. It's all these things. And I thought that was a great point to make, because that is. But, I too, Saturday, which I don't normally do this, but I locked her down Saturday and watched college football all day long into the night.
Mm-hmm.
I finished up with Georgia and Texas. I used to never do that, ever. If it was Alabama, was good, but anybody else, no, I didn't do it. But, the intrigue is how is who and how are they going to lose the game they're playing in, right?
And say that again, Tom.
I said the intrigue for me is who and how are they going to lose the game they're in, and it's kind of fascinating me, and I think the powers that be, whoever they may be, is getting exactly what they want, and I suspect the powers that be is ESPN and college football playoff committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, man. As I said earlier, it's an
entertainment. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
The other point you made, it's all entertainment.
Yeah, it is.
And that's what I'm saying that intrigued me and kept me in front of the TV on Saturday.
Yeah, listen, the games are great, man. They are.
They are.
So now I don't think the football is as good. I think it's not just Alabama. I think the number of mistakes that you see that are made, I think the fundamentals of the game aren't quite as good as they once were. But as far as the entertainment value, of course, there's not a lot of people like me. I remember when I thought, 28 to 27 was a high scoring game, and I could be as riveted by a 6-3 game or 9-6 game as I could be by a 50-something to 40-something game. But people like to see points now, and they like to see offense. They like to see playmakers, and for the most part, that's what they're getting. There's
I wanted to say this too. You helped me with my point about the quality of football may not quite be what it was in the past, and I agree with that it's not. And that's what I meant by you kind of wait to see how they're going to go about losing the game. rather than winning the game because, whether it's referees or whatever. But anyway, I wanted to bring those up and commend you on some of the points you made that I agree with. And anyway, I want to get out of the way. I want to hear what Philip said.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Always great to hear from you. Let's close out this segment with Philip. Hey, good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Gary. Last week, Gary, I had about right at 33 to 34 teams that were I thought would be eligible for the playoffs last week. Now this week, I've got it down to about 25. And the messy thing on this and the exciting thing for a lot of fans is I think it's going to come down to about 15 or so teams going into the conference championship week that are going to have one loss or so. And that's where it's going to be really interesting because two of the teams that have that opportunity are playing, well, two of the teams I'm talking about are Army and Navy, and they both play Notre Dame. If they can both beat Notre Dame, and, they're each going to play each other at the end of the year, but those two teams are in really excellent shape, and I don't know if they've got enough skill to beat Notre Dame, enough talent. But I'll tell you this, Army, Navy, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kansas State, Clemson, SMU, and Indiana, they do one thing very well. They play the game of college football with a lot of passion. And if you've got passion, then you've got a lot going for you. And right now, Missouri played that game against Auburn with a lot of passion. When that quarterback came back onto the field, that team, you could physically feel them rally.
Well, he was different. He, without him, they don't win the game. And without Cook coming back in, they lose. And if Cook doesn't go down, you feel like they might have won by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I guess I knew he was a good quarterback, but I'm with you, Philip. I saw what he meant to that team on Saturday, and I was really impressed with him. I mean, really impressed with him. And, if he doesn't come back from the hospital, they lose. And if he doesn't go down, I think they would have won that game comfortably. That's how important he was to Missouri football on Saturday. So
he was.
Yeah.
He kept them in the playoff hunt. And that was a pivotal win for the Missouri Tigers, and they are going to be a tough.
Oh, they're going to be a tough out on Saturday. And getting back to your point about the service academies, I'm pulling for Army and Navy all the way. I'm hoping they're undefeated when they play in early December at the end of the year, the last college football game of the regular season. I love that. Also, Indiana, Curt Cignetti has to be, along with the two coaches of the service academies, maybe the coach out at BYU. Curt Cignetti has to be a candidate for National Coach of the Year. Are you kidding me? What he's done with that program in Indiana? I mean, talk about a guy. I knew he was a good coach. I remember when he was on the staff here, Saban had worked for his dad, Frank, and then the job he did at Elon, the job he did at James Madison. But to walk into Indiana and just in the press conference call your shot, you remember when they kept talking about why he'd be successful? He just said, because I win, Google me. I mean, this guy knew.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
I mean, they beat the dog stew out of Nebraska on Saturday. And undefeated, I mean, you're right. I watched some of that game, and I'm with you. Indiana, buddy, they play the game the right way, man. They got excitement. They got enthusiasm. They're bought into the team concept. They're going to listen. They're going to be. I think they're legit in the Big Ten. People better watch out. Better not sleep on Indiana. That's a good football team.
That's right. And coaches get caught up a lot in watching how teams practice and the plays that they call and all that. But it might be time to study some of those teams and how they recruit.
Well, Cignetti did what, first of all, he brought a lot of players from James Madison with him, which, how good James Madison was last year and is really good again this year. He used the portal. He did it. He did it the way he needed to do it to be good right off the bat. The problem for some programs like Alabama is you never want to be portal reliant. You're still going to use, because you can recruit the top high school players. So he was in it. He had an advantage in one way. Some of these guys in the modern game, we're talking about the game has changed. When you take over at Indiana, or let's say you take over at a lower tier, what happened? Clark Lee didn't take over, but it benefited Vanderbilt. You can afford to go out and you can just afford to reload, or not reload, but just build your team from the portal because you got nothing to lose. The building over time through high school recruiting for those teams, that's what Clark Lee was trying to do. That's not going to work. You're not going to recruit as well in traditional recruiting at Indiana or at Vanderbilt as you're going to at Alabama or Ohio State. So you're just beating your head against the wall. But that portal gives you an opportunity to load up your roster in a way that you never could before. Cignetti recognized that right off the bat. Clark Lee finally recognized that. The problem at Alabama and Ohio State is you're not going to build a team like that. Why would you? Yeah. You still can. So in some ways, those coaches have an advantage because they got nothing to lose. And if they bring 50 guys in from the portal and they go 4-8, then who cares? You were 4-8 before you brought 50 guys in from the portal. So you take those chances, and it's paid off for both Vanderbilt and Indiana. And again, the job Cignetti is doing with that team, he's a candidate for he's a National Coach of the Year candidate, my friend.
No doubt about it, Gary. But anyway, it's been a great year, and Alabama got a gift from the Posters this weekend. They only dropped to 15. I was thinking they could have dropped a lot further, and they've got a lot to play for. And it's time to tighten up. It's time to tighten up. Get over yourselves and quit being so self-absorbed and enjoy playing football. Yeah, you do. You got to enjoy the game. Get out there and have fun. Get reckless and play like you said. Play for Alabama. All the NIL, all the social media, all the link. It's going to be there on Saturday. Focus on winning for the school and for your coaches. And this team's still got a chance to be really good. Hey, appreciate you, Philip. Thank you.
All right, it's 9:20 or 10:21. I'm sorry, 10:21 here on the Gary Harris Show. Hey, listen, I'm headed over to the YMCA after the show. Going to get in the gym, and I'd love for you to join me. Great facility, 2300 13th Street downtown. Personal trainers, fitness classes. They'll help you with your child daycare, whatever you need, and a great community of people. I love the membership there. It's like I'm going to hang out with my friends at the gym. So get by and see them at the YMCA. They'll give you a tour. 205-345-9622. 205-345-9622. YMCA. Tuscaloosa.org, or just get by and see them at 2300 13th Street. All right, we'll be back, and we're open for more phone.
Changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues this week. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight with the low at 49. And for tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days. Afternoon highs between 80 and 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
All right, 10:25 on the Gary Harris Show. Hey, who's Q and Brew? I went over there Saturday for my pregame meal, and in fact, I met Ryan Fowler over there, and boy, we had a great barbecue lunch before the Alabama-Tennessee game, and man, boy, it was really good. I got the rib plate. Fowler got the combo plate. I mean, you got to check it out there off Highway 82 in the Northridge Center. They were doing a ton of takeout for the game. They've got specials every day for lunch and dinner specials, drink specials, live music, karaoke, a little bit of everything at Who's Q and Brew. Get by and see them for a great dining experience. All right, phone lines are open. So we've got a short segment here anyway. So, if you want to call in 205-342-9904, we can get you on. If not, I'm going to do my Bama in the NFL update. In fact, hang on here just a second, Chase, and let me get this phone. I've got a rave video popping up because I put out something every Sunday night now on my Gary Harris WVUA 23 Facebook page. Follow me, by the way, on Twitter at Gary Harris _WVUA, and then my Gary Harris WVUA 23 Facebook page. But I put out a Bama in the NFL update every Sunday night. And, of course, got a few more guys playing tonight. But it's just unbelievable. It's just so much fun watching these guys that you watched at Alabama light it up in the NFL. Here's the update from some of the top performers on Sunday. Jahmyr Gibbs was electric for the Lions against the Vikings. 15 carries, 116 yards. That's a 7.8 yard average per carry. 4 catches for 44 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. Brian Robinson Jr., the former Hillcrest standout, had 12 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown against Carolina. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback against the Giants, went 10 of 14 for 114 yards and a TD, had 7 carries for 22 yards and 2 TDs. Willis and Anderson Jr. for the Texans against Green Bay had a sack. Josh Jacobs in that same game for the Packers against the Texans had 12 carries for 76 yards. And listen to this stat. I want y'all to listen to something. I see Wyatt in there too. This is remarkable. Josh Jacobs has been a really good running back since he's been in the NFL. This is his first year with the Packers. You realize he had the longest streak in the NFL for most catches without a touchdown reception. And a lot of rushing touchdowns. I don't know what it was, but it was well over like 200 catches. He got his first touchdown reception of his career yesterday for the Packers in that game against the Texans. So he had 12 carries for 76 yards, 5 catches for 16 yards and a TD. Amari Cooper, his first game ever for the Buffalo Bills, had 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Xavier McKinney for the Packers against Houston continued his fine play with 6 tackles and a sack. Will Reichard in that game against, I put him in that same game. Will Reichard for Green Bay. Okay, I made a mistake here. No, I didn't. I got it right. Will Reichard for the Vikings against Green Bay. 3 of 3 field goals, 2 of 2 extra points. One of them was a 57-yarder. He's not missed a kick this year. He's not missed a kick at all, period. He's been perfect. Calvin Ridley for the Titans had 3 catches for 42 yards against the Bills. Josh Jobe for the Seahawks had 6 tackles against Atlanta. Jaron Reed in that same game had 4 tackles. Brian Branch, another great game for him, 4 tackles and an interception. And then last night, Najee Harris for the Jets, against the Jets for the Steelers, had 21 carries for 102 yards and a TD, and more games coming up tonight with Alabama guys. All right, real quickly, let's squeeze in Ellis. Ellis always likes to call. Have you noticed this? He always likes to call right at the end of a segment. Do you do this on purpose every time, Ellis?
Well, I'm always the last caller on Ryan's show. Yeah. They call me the last bit.
But you got a couple minutes here before we hit the break. What's going on, man?
I just want to talk about all these comments people are saying, Gary. My goodness. Like Corey calling in saying, we're only going to win against Mercer, and that's it. My goodness. Give it a break. I know it's bad and everything, but what's being negative going to help? Nothing. It's going to make matters worse. I know things need to get better, and hopefully it will. But, all we can do is wait. But saying stuff like that, no. Like we had a chance to win it, and we didn't. I seem to think our defense played better to me.
They did. First in the first half, Listen, you're right, Ellis, and it is a good time to kind of catch your breath and realize you're 5-2 and 2-2 in the SEC. You're not 2-5 like Auburn and 0-4 in the SEC. There's still a lot to play for, but you got to win the game on Saturday. Do you agree with me, Ellis, that right now the only focus needs to be the game that you're playing? You don't need to be looking ahead and worrying about the playoffs. Just focus on winning each Saturday. Focus on winning that game. That's it.
Yeah. Don't worry about any other game. Worry about the one that's coming up. Worrying about the other game, that's just useless doing that. Don't help matters, no. So think about the game coming up. That's what I'm thinking about. Is the game coming up.
That's right.
And the team should do that, and the coaches should do that.
You're right, my friend. You pegged it.
Yes,
right,
sir.
Brother.
All right, I still plan on being down there at 9:00.
All right,
Friday morning.
Look forward to it on Friday at the Free, buddy. All right, Ellis, let me hit this break. Good to talk to you, my man.
All right, roll tide.
All right, it's 10:31 here on the Gary Harris Show. We'll come back with Casey Smith on golf and
or Town Square Media Tuscaloosa radio websites. Fill out the Advertise Here form. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:34. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld, and it is time for Casey Smith on golf. And we'll talk a little golf, and we'll also talk some Bama football and basketball with Casey as well. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, man. It's doing good. I'm sure, like you, everyone, you're getting blown up with all of the, people that are upset.
Oh, yeah.
I would assume, right?
Yep. It's listen, there's a lot of angst. There's a lot of frustration, and I get it. I mean, fans, sportscasters too. I mean, you want to see the team you cover or the team you pull for do well, but you're really helpless. I mean, you don't really have any control, and I think that adds to the frustration and dealing with the fact that Alabama hasn't had 2 losses before November since 2007. And you've lost, you got swept in the state of Tennessee. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. And we're going to get to that, Casey, but we are going to lead off with golf. And I tell you, I don't know the guy, but I get the impression that JT Poston's win at the Shriners Children's Open in Las Vegas was a very popular victory on the PGA Tour. He seems like a guy that a lot of people like, good demeanor. Am I right here that he's a real popular
spot
player?
on. He is one of the most well-liked players on tour, resides at Sea Island, played golf at Western Carolina, and has done a lot for that program and area, not a very big, school. And he's got one of the most well-liked caddies on tour in Aaron Fleener, who's a big sports fan as well and entertainer, good singer. But JT resides down in Sea Island, really great guy. I mean, one of the best putters on tour. He made a President's Cup team, and because of basically his ability to putt, I think you'll see him on future teams probably because they're figuring out you got to have guys that can really putt. That was his 3rd win. Got a little tight. Started the tournament, started the round yesterday up 3 shots, and randomly his other 2 wins had come when he was up 3 shots going in the last round, and he was up 4. He had 3 birdies in a row on the back, and then he gets up 4 and sort of made it interesting at the end. He had to make a 6-footer to win, and obviously that type of win where he was sitting moved him all the way up to inside the top 50. He'd earned pretty good money this year already, obviously, and he just made some more. So big win for him. 3rd win. Anytime you win more out there, all of those past champion statuses only increase in addition to the money you get 2 more a year extension on your job and all that, all the majors. That's a big event. Yeah. And and really is just one of celebrating the good. That's one of the best guys out there.
All right. A lot of former Bama guys and in these fall events, and we've talked about how important it is for Bud Colley. Got off to a great start, had a great first round. That second round with all the wind and the delays kind of derailed him a little bit. Still, though, a tie for 34th. He shot 11 under par. Not awful as he's trying to, get as many high finishes as he can. Does that T34 help him at all?
It does. And, what I thought was impressive, I saw a little bit of round 3. He closed round 3 where he really kept himself in it.
Yeah.
He made a bogey on 14 in round 3, and he went eagle, birdie to really finish strong.
The green on that one hole, yeah.
Yeah, and played well. His FedEx Cup, fall status essentially has moved up a little bit more, which is good. He's now at 1 spot inside the top 150, so conditional status, which is better than no status.
Right.
And you would have full status on Korn Ferry Tour and conditional PGA Tour. So, yeah, he goes to 149. Our other guys now here with just 3 weeks left, 3 tournaments left. Obviously, JT and Sepp Straka, who we cover, are safe, but Nick Dunlap's at 49. Pat Desire, 72. They got that win. Lee Hodges, 78, safe. Davis Riley, 81. Bud Colley, 149. Robbie Shelton has flipped the other way. He missed the cut. Didn't really need to miss the cut. He's at 156. Trey Mullinak's at 200 with a missed cut. So Trey really, with a win or top five for both of them. Top five with Bud inside the top 125. A top five for Trey, probably top 150. So he's going to have a really good, finish. And Robbie Shelton just needs to go out and make 3 cuts. If he can make 3 cuts, he'll just work his way down. I think Bud Cauley makes 3 cuts and probably gets his full card. So,
good.
When you look at the numbers, Bud Cauley makes 3 cuts. He probably finishes inside like 122, 3. So that'd be great.
And I think he will. He's playing well. He's playing solid. He really is healthy. And we know when he was in college here at Alabama, I mean, the sky looked like it was the limit. And boy, just the car wreck.
The guys out there on tour too. I've read some sound bites for them talking about how really good he's been playing at home. And, I know there's fans and there's money on the line, but when they're playing with their peers in those games at home, you can get a really good judge of who's going to play well out on tour.
Yeah, that's sure. All right, Davis Riley, a guy that I think talking to you over the last couple of years, you continue to kind of almost be miffed by Davis Riley because you love the swing, you love the temperament, you love the putter, you just love everything about his game. And he's flashed, but he just has been so inconsistent. Yesterday, he was 9 under going into yesterday. So you thought, well, if he shoots 4 or 5 under, he's going to have a chance, maybe for a top 10 or a top 20 anyway. He shot even par, but still, based on how he's played recently, I would say T41, 9 under par probably is a positive tournament for him.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. When I went back and looked this morning just to see where maybe there could be something that pointed to the struggles or why the inconsistency is really what it is. I mean, he used to not be as good of a putter statistically as he is now. He's 32nd in putting, but his strokes gain off the tee. It's that loose tee ball that gets him and it causes, and it's just weird. It happens, and then there's, you can't make doubles out there. You can't make bigger scores out there. And it looks like it's just really driving is absolutely killing him because if you don't drive it well, you're then put in bad positions. You're not going to hit your irons as well. His iron play from the fairway is great, but his putting is what's held him up. His ability to make putts has saved him from not just ballooning out. He's safe with his card at 81. Man, you just think the guy's got the best golf ahead. He can make tons of birdies, and he just has a really technically sound golf swing when he's locked in.
Casey, are you surprised we haven't seen Nick Dunlap on this fall swing at all?
I'm not. I'm actually probably pretty happy that they've done that. I thought they might get him some play, but thinking about how his spring went last year and what he was preparing to do, to then thrown into what he did and to go win a couple of times. Probably knowing he's going to have a busy year next year, playing even more events than he's ever played. If there was any elements, get them done. If there's any of this, get it done. He's signed a bunch of deals. There's not a money issue there. He's made money, and he's got endorsement deals. So it just looks like they're really in. I thought he would play this past week, but he was deer hunting. So it looks like he's in a sort of rest up and recharge, and you'll see him in Maui to open the year because he's a winner. And, playing a field of 40 guys for a huge check. Yeah. So seems like that's where his rest up is. And maybe in his infancy, given there's not as much to play for in the fall, he's just going to go that path.
And Tuscaloosa's Patton Kizzire, former Auburn golfer, didn't make the cut at Las Vegas. But, boy, what a productive few weeks it's been for Patton.
Pat Kizzire saved himself. Getting that win, making that money, getting that 2 years, moved himself up into the safe zone. I mean, we're going to know now. We're going to be able to follow Pat Kizzire, we know, for at least 2 more years, if not further, a full-time, full event, all because of a win. And he was way back. So, it should give guys hope that are out there, like a Robbie Shelton or a Bud Cauley. Bud Cauley is really just not that far away from getting a win. I mean, you're just a couple shots the way he's been playing. You can look at Patton and see what happens for him. So, Patton's probably a positive thing for a lot of people out there to look at. A guy that just kept showing up to work every day per his coach, kept working hard, just another great guy. And, good things happen to good people.
All right. Before we get to a little football and basketball, just so we've kind of recapped Las Vegas, couple events left here in the fall, swing, and then we'll be before you know it, we'll be into a new season, new year. Everybody kind of hits the reset button. Any storylines that are hovering? You told me you had a soundbite for me this morning.
It's a football soundbite.
Okay, we'll hold that then.
The TGL actually announced they launched their league again, relaunched, I guess you would say, to the public, announced their schedule the other day. They're going to be playing 15 regular season matches starting January 7th through March 24th, 25th. It's going to be on mostly Monday and Tuesdays. Tuesday nights in prime time. And I'm just really interested to see how this is going to go. They're going to play them all at that SoFi Stadium that they built down there in Palm Beach. And then I looked, like Atlanta's team's Justin Thomas, so the guy that we follow, there's only one really that we follow that is on a team, and it's Billy Horschel, Cantlay, and Lucas Glover representing Atlanta. The lines were a little misleading. Some of the storyline they were going to play this match against Tiger Woods' team, and it said Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but I called some people, and that's not right. They're playing all their matches down there at SoFi, and then they're just going to be representing these cities per se. Should be interesting to see how this format goes and rolls out. They're trying to bring golf to prime time, and I don't know what type of money or any of that after last year's sort of storm flop, and then not having some of those live guys. I get why they did that then, but if they really wanted to juice the product, probably need a couple of them in there. So that's the only other storyline. Alabama golf, men's golf came over here and played in the Georgia Tech tournament to end the fall season for them. And they unfortunately had their worst, and that happens in golf, but had their worst showing of the year, worst scoring of the year. And, had a win this year and what deemed it might be a little bit of a rebuilding year, have been pretty good and very competitive, but just didn't end the year on a good note. And hopefully that, you get a spring season. So they're ranked, they're going to be fine, but I'm sure they have bigger aspirations given that they've won this year in a big event.
Yeah, I'm interested in this TGL too, because I still don't even really understand it, to be honest with you, Casey. So I want to see exactly what it is and how it works. So I guess there'll be some initial interest by me, but I just, before we move to football,
I think it's going to go moving fast. I think it's going to. I watched the simulation, and I've played in a lot of these simulator things. They're going to keep it moving, so we'll see a lot of shots.
Yeah.
You should be seeing a lot of shots. There's not all the walking to your ball, all that stuff. It's next, and it's so virtually even in regular golf simulators in people's houses or stores, you can see the courses, you recognize them, and all that. It's going to even be, this whole arena was built for this. So it should be a very virtual, almost like that Sphere in Vegas that you've probably seen videos of. Something like that, but golf in prime time.
Okay. All right, good deal. All right, football. You said you had something interesting for me. What you got?
Well, no, I just think that, everybody out there, we're as close to being 3-4 or 7-0 as we are 5-2.
Right. Could best case scenario is 7-0. Worst case scenario, you're probably 3-4. That's right. So,
and I think the thing that that there's a standard at Alabama. There always will be. And there have been a lot of people that came before this team that poured a lot into creating that standard. Keeping in mind that standard has also produced immense success on and off the field. So I'd say if you're a coach at Alabama, you don't really have to look further than your team plays at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Two greatest coaches in college football history created a standard for you. And if you're a player, Julio Jones, A.J. McCarron, Ingram, Henry, Devontae, you name it, John Hanna, Derek Thomas, Ozzie Newsome, Jonathan Allen, Minka. Those guys created the standard, and you should play the standard. I think what the fans are upset about are, if you look at the loss to Vanderbilt, it was lost with a lot of we lost and didn't show class. And if you look at the loss to Tennessee, we didn't play with any discipline. 10, 15 penalties, 5 were probably bogus, but it's still 10. And I think it's just to me, a little bit hard to wrap my head around is the switching to the defensive scheme, even though defense play better. When you have the two best programs in college football, Alabama over the last 17 years and Georgia, the other dominant, both running a 3-4. You got a guy getting paid $2 million in retirement. Could be your bird's eye view ahead. Just seems so mind blowing to change, scheme, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers have always sort of kept a similar scheme, especially when you got, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And that's a little bit nitpicky on that, but I just, it goes along with a little bit of everything. I think there's just no identity. So I think everyone should realize there's a standard, and that standard is winning or losing, right? It's an honor to play at Alabama.
That's right.
And you should act like it.
Well said. Basketball certainly has a lot of people pumped up, and no reason to curb your enthusiasm after that charity exhibition at Boutwell on Friday night against Wake Forest. Bama put 98 on the board. 4 players didn't even suit up, and this team has got talent. They've got shooting. They've got rebounding. They got depth. They can guard you. I mean, it's every bit what we think.
This is the best team. This is the best team, preseason team Alabama has ever had. And that's saying a lot, because even though there hasn't been national titles won, Alabama has a very rich tradition in basketball. Second most, in the SEC, really, truly. And I think that gets overlooked. This team, they're talented players. This team is freaking loaded. And I obviously love Coach Oates. He's someone I keep in touch with, think the world of him. And he's really excited. They're all excited. They should be. They put a lot of work into it, and they got a lot of, just phenomenal players. And we should be such a tough out just with the depth. I mean, the depth, and you can't really double guys because there's so much talent and depth. And if you're ever going to go to games, get on board and go see this team play. It's going to be a really fun team to watch. Just as much as we shoot, defensive transition points. It's fun watching Alabama basketball. Very excited about that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, great stuff as always, Casey, and we appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, thank you. 10:50 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we got one segment. When we come back, we can squeeze in a couple more phone calls. We're not going to get to Kalen DeBoer audio from Saturday. Just didn't have time for it, but we do have the press conference coming up at noon today, his Monday press conference, which you'll be able to hear here on Miller's Edge, so we'll look forward to that. So we'll come back. We'll end final segment right after this.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m., The Martin Houston Show.
On the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. For a Tuesday edition of the program, we'll add DC Captain report to the conversation. We'll continue to break down Alabama's loss against Tennessee on the third Saturday in October. We'll also turn our attention to what Bama needs to right the ship as they take on Mizzou this Saturday. Can the Tide get it right? Can DeBoer get it right? Well, we'll talk about it and give you an opportunity to talk about it right here on your home for Alabama Sports 101.9 at 12:30 a.m. WTV.
And you 100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs. 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues this week. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight with the low at 49. And for tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days. Afternoon highs between 80 and 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
All right, it's 10:55, and if you followed college football in the SEC on Saturday, you know Georgia went into top-ranked Texas and wore them out on Saturday night there in Austin, up 23-0 at half, and they went on to win it. What was that final, 30-15, something like that? But anyway, I'll get the final after. The point is, I saw it up close and personal for 9 years here in Tuscaloosa. Kirby Smart's one of the most intense football coaches this side of Nick Saban, and after the game, he was ready for his ESPN interview.
Been in these battles, how do you know how to get the best out of your players when you need it most?
These players get the best out of me, and I'm so proud of these guys because nobody believed, nobody gave us a chance. Your whole network doubted us. Nobody believed us, and then they tried to rob us with calls in this place, and these guys are so resilient. You know what I mean? We talked about intent. What was our intent when we walked on the field? Our intent was not to take pictures, not to do all the superstar stuff. Our intent was to eat. Our intent was to come eat and be hungry. I'm not interested in all the bells and whistles. What I want is a team that fights their ass off, and they did tonight.
Speaking of the call that was changed in the third quarter, what did you think of the composure you saw from Carson Beck in your offense?
I thought Carson had great composure all day. He had 4 drops to start the game, and he didn't rattle the kid. He threw interceptions. It didn't rattle the kid. The guy's a great player. He takes undue criticism, and all he does is lead our team. This was a team victory, offense, defense, special teams, in a tough place to play.
So much was made about their explosive offense coming into the game. How much pride do you have in the way your defense performed tonight?
Our defense was embarrassed the week before, but we really played really well. So when you play really well and you still get embarrassed, we were able to get their attention, and I thought they woke up and played really hard today.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Go to.
All right, that's Kirby Smart for you now in a nutshell. I love that, because Texas had all the celebrities around them. I mean, it was a show. And I get it. I mean, that's but he's like, we're not interested in taking pictures and all the superstar stuff. We came here to eat. We're hungry. Came here to eat. Some kind of football coach. I'll tell you that. Kirby Smart is some kind of football coach. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Gary Harris Show. And we appreciate you being with us. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next with Wyatt and Chase. And then, of course, Kalen DeBoer live on the Miller's Edge with the weekly press conference at noon. All day great sports talk here. I'll be back tomorrow morning at Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. with the Gary Harris Show for Tuesday. Talk to you then. Have a great day, everybody.